Thanks, everybody. Welcome to Build. I am your host, Ricky Camilleri. You know, as our world plunges further and further into fire and chaos, and our elected leaders provide no semblance of any clear solutions, it is appropriate that writers and directors would consistently engage with what life may be like in a post-apocalyptic world. In the new film, I Think We're Alone Now, director Reed Morano and stars Peter Dinklage and Elle Fanning eschew the usual grand political discussions for an intimate, beautiful, and sometimes quite funny study of solitude versus partnership. Let's take a look at the trailer.
Why are you still alive?
Why are you? Where are all the bodies? Has anyone ever told you you're kind of a weird guy?
Yeah, but they're all dead now.
I have to tell you something. It's about where I came from.
What's wrong with you?
I don't know what I was doing when it happened.
You keep your town nice and clean. And we do that with our people.
Take me with you.
Take your hand off the wheel!
I feel so sad for you.
There's no before. There's only from now on.
You're never supposed to be here.
Why?
It's time for you to come back home.
Everybody, please welcome Peter Dinklage and director Reed Morano. Hey. Thank you so much for being here. Congratulations on this beautiful film. As I said in my intro, it's a post-apocalypse film, I think, unlike we've really seen. Rarely do they focus on intimate character studies kind of like this and what it means to be alone in the world. You are coming off of the success of The Handmaid's Tale, which is in some ways a post-apocalyptic, I'm getting sick of saying it, a post-apocalypse story, but not really. I mean, it's a different kind. What drew you to this? Did you have any hesitation? What made you want to be a part of this?
Well, it felt different enough from The Handmaid's Tale, like a totally different world and kind of a different tone and more, weirdly kind of felt more like a realistic scenario, what would happen after. I mean, I just like any kind of story where you can examine human behavior. And I thought it was an interesting psychological study of two people who are very different. And, you know, what would you do after something like that happened, and how do you connect? Do you connect to, you know, human connection, and how do people relate to each other? And I like that it wasn't following the typical sort of narrative path of other post-apocalyptic movies, because it's like, you know, we've seen that before, so to do something different.
Peter, what drew you to this movie?
It always starts with the script by Mike Mikowski. He's our screenwriter. He's incredible. And then, so I got a hold of the script, luckily enough, and then wanted to put the team together. So I talked to Reed, and then I knew Elle from another movie we had worked on a couple of years ago. We all just thought it would be great to make a movie together. It happened very quickly too, which is rare in the world of film.
Really, how like you mean you decided to do it and then everybody came on board and you were sort of
From
moving.
the time I read the script to talking to you, it's just like just a little over a year. You know, really.
Usually it's about 8 years
Yeah,
for like a
yeah.
for like a passion
Truly.
project of any
Yeah,
kind.
yeah.
You know, I interviewed Tom McCarthy, and he said that he built the station agent around you because you, in his opinion, were a star that nobody knew yet. Nobody knew how great you would be on camera. And I think everybody kind of has an idea of that now because of Game of Thrones. But what I loved about this film is that so much of it is you silent, walking around.
Me and the beard. The beard really is like the
That's
third
what-
character in the
that's
movie.
what does it. But it's a real testament with how captivating you are. And I wonder sometimes as an actor, when actors are that captivating, if they know it, if they know what it is about them that makes them that way, how the camera kind of eats up their expressions. Or do you just do your thing when you're acting?
Just do my thing.
Yeah.
I don't know what acting really is. Nobody does. It's a mystery still, and we're you know, it will always be a mystery. But it's really who you work with. You're only as good as the actor you're working with, and I've been lucky enough to surround myself with very talented actors, and Elle is top of the list.
That's true, but she shows up a little ways into the film. A fair amount of the movie is just you.
Cleaning,
Yeah.
cleaning, a lot of cleaning.
Remember day one when we were like,
just cleaning.
we're just cleaning.
For 3
What
days,
gloves
all
do
I
I
did
wear
was
when we're
clean.
cleaning?
Yeah. If you want to watch me clean for 15 minutes, this is your movie.
Really
I
selling
should
it.
start going to people's
It's
houses.
riveting.
Yeah.
It really is riveting. I mean, the great actors.
Well, I'm not just cleaning. I'm cleaning dead bodies and what the F is going on in this world. So there's the intrigue that she sets up.
Well, when you were 2 days into cleaning, were you like, oh shoot, I probably should have asked for some rewrites in the top of the script?
Remember the dust? Remember the dust machine?
Yeah.
There was like this thing that was like
It
kind of like
wasn't.
a
It wasn't
cheese
the most
grater.
healthy set.
Yeah, there was a lot of dust. We had to lay dust down on
Fake
everything.
cheese grater dust.
Yeah, this like woman would go around like just like cranking it, and dust everywhere, and like fake.
I still think there'd be an
spider
easier way than a cheese grater.
I know it seemed like not the most efficient way to lay dust down, but yeah, it was a dusty set. It was messy. It was like there was a lot of things where we're like, oh, we got to put dust down everywhere, and now the whole crew has to walk through, and like, yeah. We were working it out. It was it was a very funny experience.
How much of the film, especially stuff like the sequences in the beginning and some of the montages later, like the solar montage, how much of that had you really worked out in pre-production, or how much of that is you having these sort of sets and these locations and really shooting as much different kinds of footage on the day that you could think of?
I mean, we followed the script in terms of the situations mostly, but we would often do some ad-libbing. You know, for example, when they're doing the solar panels, that was sort of a joke that Elle had told us that we thought was funny if she would just say it, and then sometimes I'd just like, you know, call out a line like, why didn't we think of this before? Like, because I was thinking, why didn't they think of this before? But you know, just like we would be kind of fluid, but we followed we followed the guidelines that were set up for us.
You have to be fluid on a low-budget movie because if you write the scene and it's a sunny day and the day we're scheduled to shoot, it's pouring rain, you have to shoot in the pouring rain and change it up. But I also really love that because sometimes what you didn't plan on can be more beautiful than what you did. Unexpected.
What attracted you to playing a character like this? Someone who is happy to be, I would not necessarily happy, but wants to be solitary, wants to be alone.
Yeah, I mean, we can all understand that, but the difference is no one wants to be lonely. And I think he realizes that being alone is, you know, we're all creatures of the pack. We're social. We live in New York City, not because it's, you know, desolate. There's millions of people, and we surround ourselves with them, and we enjoy that for the most part. And he comes to understand that through this young woman. And it's also sort of a beautiful, I think, unconventional love story at the heart of this film. Two people who would never cross paths emotionally or geographically in usual day-to-day, but this brings them together, and I just love unconventional love stories. Like, Lost in Translation, Harold and Maude. I think we're sort of, cinema has made us follow certain rules of what romance is, and who should be with whom. And I think that's sort of so limited.
How they should be with each other. And what
Yeah,
that
and the
means as
usual
well, like
steps
what
of
love.
courtship and all of that, and that's usually in life never the case. So I don't know why it's true in films, but it's not,
What had you worked with Elle on before?
We did another low-budget movie called Lowdown.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And what was it about working with her that made you think she would be perfect for this?
She's very similar to this character. Elle is a bright light. She's so much fun to be around. And I think the age difference between, I'm about 25 years older than Elle. So that I thought was a really great idea. We had talked about that, because if anybody was closer to my age, it would be a little bit too convenient in the story. We would have too much in common, I guess. And me and a much younger person wouldn't. So I like that. And I really just wanted to spend more time with her, because she's one of the most gifted actresses I've ever worked with. And she's such a professional. And for somebody so young, she's never on her phone. Put the phones down once in a while, everybody. So that's always exciting to be around.
They're both. I was saying this in the green room. Incredibly, they can act, but also incredibly compelling faces to watch, which is so important with a movie like this. What was it like for you shooting and doing these scenes with them, and then in the editing room?
I mean, I think I got very attached to them very quickly. It's like, if someone's paying attention and watching the movie and paying attention, they can see what my fascination is with the two of them, and not just their faces, but I think it's more about and this is probably what you're saying, but what's going on, the expressiveness that they have in their eyes, and just their movements and their body language. And so it's really like a study of the two of them. And I think editing, in editing, it was funny because it's like, you just watch it, and it's much like how I feel when I look at my two sons, But when I watch the movie and I watch, Elle and Pete there, I feel like this huge amount of love, and a connection, and you have to. I can't imagine not feeling that way. But to me, I could watch them for hours and hours, and really, this is like the way called down version of that. But everything they do, to me, there's so many nuances to their performances, and there has to be, because it's a movie with very few words, and no one's giving us exposition in any other way. A lot of times when you're finding out information in the story, it's when they're alone and they're doing something. And so it's really a film where you have to pay attention, because every little detail, every little thing that they do could be a clue. And they were really amazing how they set that up for me, so that we could do the storytelling in a way that, I don't think movies do it so often anymore. And the, attention spans of people nowadays, it's trickier, because they want everything to sort of be, I think that sometimes people are used to having everything told to them through dialogue or, sort of spoon-fed. And what I like about what Elle and Pete did in this was they were able to deliver the information in really subtle and nuanced ways. And it's like, if you go into it wanting to learn about them, you're gonna take away the most from the story, because it's all there. And it's just quiet, so you have to be watching. And they're just, they have, you could follow them anywhere, each on their own. And then together they have this amazing chemistry.
I feel like you can tell the type of movie watcher a person is when they watch this movie, because like 10 minutes in and there was no talking, I was really excited. And I was like, I can't believe they're going for it. How long are they going to keep this up? Keep going. And then I can imagine somebody else being like, when are they going to start talking? What is this? And I'd be like, get out of here. You don't like good movies. Get out of here. It's really daring to make a movie where people don't talk for an extended period of time at the top of a film, I imagine. Was there anybody that was like in your ear being like, maybe you should add more dialogue, maybe you should do this, or were all of you always really on the same page that the film should be like that?
Even I mean, Mike, our screenwriter, wrote it. That's always how it was meant to be. There was no talking really at the top of the film. I mean, I think initially there was a scene that we moved to like a scenario we moved to later that involved an animal, and there might have been a few words to that animal, but other than that, there was really no talking until the second character, until Grace shows up. So it was always that challenge of, like for me, I was relished in it because I like telling story through pictures, but I also love sound and I love music, and I really, the sound and music are also, the sound of music is really what I like, and but it guides you along. It's classic.
It's classic. It's Sound of Music.
Solid movie.
Yeah.
Music. I think I do think that people can look at your work though with with Meadowland, right? Excuse me, and with The Handmaid's Tale, and see that you are a director who is of few words, or who wants to use your actors in ways that doesn't involve dialogue all the time. You're very focused on their faces and on their expressions and telling the story that way, rather than everybody sort of communicating out loud what it is they're feeling or what it is they're doing.
Yeah, I just think when the actors are doing it for you, there's no need to, it's just more elegant. If they're doing it, you don't need to have words to tell the audience. Audience is smarter than that. And I think especially now people want to be challenged more, and I think that, it is challenging, but I think it's time to break the conventions of traditional storytelling, and like, it's not even necessarily like we're doing something new. It sort of was like a throwback idea to movies in the 70s, like that kind of, slow burn where you're an observer and you're watching the characters be people in their environment. And I think, much like real life, I like this story because you think it's one thing, and whenever any kind of a crazy thing has happened to anybody in their lives, I'm sure a lot of times or many times people weren't expecting it, and that's kind of like what I feel about this. What I love about it is, when the crazy stuff goes down, you're not expecting it because you're so comfortable, and that's what life does to you, like just when you least expect it. And so, people may be uncomfortable with that, but I like making anything that makes people uncomfortable.
Peter, in the wake of the success of Game of Thrones, has it been difficult to find things that are different or very specific to what you want to do?
No. I mean, I'm quite fortunate to have people I work with sort of know what I'm looking for to help me along the way. Yeah, you don't want to go right back into a kingdom with dragons after 8 years on a very successful, the most successful version of that, because where do you go from there? Because David and Dan, who the creators of Game of Thrones, have just done something that's absolutely incredible.
Iconic at this point.
So yeah, it is a little tricky because you're gonna I just think I'd be on set in that environment, going, this is a lesser version of what I did for 8 years. So you got to be careful of that. But yeah, people really, it's just a testament to people's love of the show, and I love that. That's great. And but I do off season, and now that the show is completely finished, I like the smaller projects. It's all the script, whatever, big and small. It's all the good writing and who you're working with.
Is that what you've always intended to go for as an actor? Were the smaller projects?
There's no plan. Yeah, that's the sort of the fun of being an actor. You sort of to have a plan. Just like this movie, if you have a sort of a set plan in mind, it's not gonna really work out. I don't know.
Is that what happened?
Gotta keep
while
yourself
making
open.
the movie? Was there a set plan? That
Well, he's a certain methodical
okay,
person, and he's cleaning, and he's shut himself off, and then suddenly.
I wasn't sure if you were referring to the character or like a joke about the production or something.
I mean, that's like every production. It doesn't really go according to plan.
Never.
But whatever it comes out
It's
to
chaos.
be, you make it work and follow it through. But yeah, in the movie, that's the thing. He can't. The whole idea is he can't no matter how meticulous you are and how organized you are, in the end, chaos will find you. Yeah. And it's sort of a foreshadowing in the film. It's like, you know, that's the idea. It's like you might never be prepared for it. But there are a lot of cool ideas in it, and I think, you know, relevant to today in some way.
I think the final moments are incredibly relevant, and it's one of the best punchlines I've seen in a movie in quite some time. Let's leave it right there. Obviously, but it's an incredibly it's a great punch in the gut. I loved that you guys pulled that off.
Yeah.
Let's get some questions from our audience. Who's a question?
Hi.
Where are y'all from?
Right here. You guys have both had very like lengthy and successful careers in your respective fields, with like Reed and like directing and cinematography with like Meadowland and The Handmaid's Tale, and like Peter with Game of Thrones and Infinity War. Sorry, let me get to it. I'm just curious, like in the creation of this film, did you guys ever learn anything like new about yourselves, or like experience something new within like the craft of filmmaking that you feel is like worthy of sharing?
Good question. I only want to make a movie with one other person in the cast from now on. And you got to make sure that there's someone like Elle who's fun to be around. No, I just, and it was incredible to work with Reed because I didn't know her before this experience. So I would just want to work with people like these two, you know. I love the environment that she sets up on set. Oftentimes, for actors at least, there's such a pressure to get something perfect in between action and cut, and everybody gets into these sort of acting modes, and it's just sort of this performance anxiety sets in, and with someone working with her, that just completely disappears because it's very fluid, and you just keep shooting, and she's there holding the camera because Reed is also the cinematographer, and about 80% of the film she held the camera as well. So she's right there. It's really just the three of us in a room or in a car, very intimate. So there's real trust there. So that's I really found so liberating, and unfortunately it can be quite rare when you're making movies with all the pressures and everybody on the set, and you know, yeah.
Is it difficult being the cinematographer and director, or is that just the way that you know how to work?
I wouldn't say it's easy, like you don't have much time for anything, but it's in some ways easier for me just because I came up as a cinematographer, so I'm used to like telling a story through the viewfinder. So that was my segue into directing anyway, and I knew I could do it because when I was cinematographer before I started directing, I would get so intimately connected to the scenes that I would get emotional while I was operating. There were many times where, you know, the viewfinder would fog up, and because I would be crying while I was operating the camera, you know, and it's like once you know, you can like not think about, I think there's just different people who have a different way of working, and as a cinematographer, I don't consider myself a technical cinematographer because I put the story first, so I come from like an emotional place. And
I've never had a camera operator crying during a scene. It was quite fun.
I was just
It's
thinking
like, what is
about
that? Who's crying? What is? Oh, it's Reed.
sorry, guys.
Sorry, I guess we're doing a powerful job.
It is. It's very, but like, you know, for me, also what's good about it is it's a way to get, a lot of the things I do are handheld, and handheld operating is a very subjective thing. It's like, you know, I can tell someone, hey, cover the scene, but like, they're never gonna know. If I didn't know how to do it, then I would just find a great person to do it. But because I know how to do it, it's very hard to separate myself from it because a lot of the moments that I find with the camera are not pre-planned. They're because I'm reacting off of what the actor's doing. And so you can't tell someone how to do that in advance. It just has to happen in the moment, and you've got a moment to get it. And so for me, it's easier in many ways. And it's also quicker because I don't have to explain to someone. And I think if you know how to do one of those jobs very well, then you could possibly do two of them if you don't mind being asked questions literally 24 hours a day. But it's like, you know, if you could do one of those with your eyes closed, and I kind of felt like by the time I got to directing, I could kind of do cinematography with my eyes closed, and besides, I wasn't really trying to be, I just wanted to keep challenging myself.
Have you worked with another cinematographer, and did you have moments where you're like, oh, just give me that thing?
Oh yeah, no, I've worked with a lot of other cinematographers. I did I've directed some TV, and I always work with cinematographers there. I on Handmaid's Tale, I hired Colin Watkinson to be my DP because I was obsessed with him since he shot The Fall, that movie The Fall for Tarsum. And you know, what's fun about working with another DP is, and yeah, it can be frustrating at times, but it's kind of like any other collaboration where you want something out of someone and you have to just figure out what's the way to get it to get the best out of people. And what's cool about having two DPs work together is that the end result is sort of a hybrid of both of your work. So you're not just getting a Colin shot movie or a Reed shot movie, you're getting a Watkinson Morano, or you know, my last movies with Sean Bobbitt, and you know, it's getting to work with my idols. But what I loved about this experience was that I could just be in there myself, because sometimes I just want to grab the camera, but not necessarily because someone's doing it wrong, but just because I have an emotional need. So for me, it's not even really always about technical, it's about, I enjoy the process. And for me, it's a dance with the actors, and the camera becomes part of the scene. So anyway.
Next question.
Hi, we're going to be taking we'll be taking a question from an online viewer. Alice wants to know, for you, Peter, what are the type of character roles you like to portray, and is this character different from the ones you played in your career?
I want to play very handsome characters. I want to play very charming characters. I don't know. Again, there's nothing really. I don't know it until I see it, and that's the writer's job. You know, and then I'll be hopefully pleasantly surprised. And what was the second part?
How is this different from characters you've portrayed before? Yeah? Okay.
How is it different? I've never been. I've never cleaned dead bodies in the apocalypse before, so that was different. Yeah.
I think we have time for one more.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Mr. Dinklage, I'm your co-worker from Uzbekistan. My name is Otabek. I'm a film actor, and you have such a great quantity of followers and fans in Uzbekistan, more than 32 million.
Wow.
And on behalf of these people, you know, I'm the first film actor from Uzbekistan who can see you in the reality. That's such a great pleasure. Thank you very much. And in Uzbekistan, in the Institute of Cinematography, we try to use all your episodes like a masterclass, and because you are a role model for us. That's why I have a question for you. Do you have any plans for the future to visit this region, Middle Asia, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, where you have a lot of fans because you are a hero there?
What's the film community like there?
That's the Asian movies. That's the Asian movies,
Yeah.
and all the countries which were in the former Soviet Union, not Pakistan, Uzbekistan. That's a special country which
Are they opening their doors to Western films?
Yes,
at all?
we have a new president, and he tries to
And
open.
that's slowly
Yes,
evolving.
Yes.
Then I'll see you over there.
Please.
Yeah.
We're
Please.
looking for a new location.
I know. No, it's funny that there's just. I wish, yeah, because it really is great for communities, economically, and I think spiritually. Yeah. There's only so many times you can shoot in the beautiful city of Toronto.
Although Toronto's great.
Toronto's one of my favorite places.
Same.
Just I've shot a lot of movies there.
Handmaid's
Tale, yeah.
Guys,
you.
Congratulations on I Think We're Alone Now. It's beautifully shot, beautifully directed as well, and wonderful performances from you and Elle Fanning and a couple other people as well. It opens this Friday, right? In theaters?
Yep. It'll be in New York and LA at the Quad on 13th Street, and LA at the Culver City ArcLight. Where
Tomorrow or next Friday?
Friday. This Friday.
14th, yeah.
This Friday, and Pete will be doing Q&As at the ArcLight, and I'll be doing Q&As with the writer and the producer at the Quad. And You guys, people should see it on the big screen. It's really that kind of a movie. It's a very cinematic experience. If nothing else, that's the way to see it. But
Yeah, agreed.
Give him a round of applause, everybody. Peter Dinklage, Reed Morano. Let's hear it.